Hi, I'm Tony, this is Slack, welcome to Smog Vlog. Today we're going to be reviewing the IJOY Asolo 200W by IJOY.
For your joy. Okay, so the IJOY Asolo 200W is a freaking tiny 200W dual 18650 unit. It's really nice little unit, very powerful.
It's a standard 200W device that does standard wattage mode, it does temp control, but it also features a new little thing with Canthol, what they're calling taste control.
Yeah, it was originally called temp control, the same, but then they realised actually we can't really get away with this because it's not proper. But it is pretty trick.
It is pretty trick. We'll talk about that later. For the minute though, let's dive down, have a quick unboxing.
So let's take a quick look around the outside of the box of the IJOY Asolo 200W. So front of the box you have the IJOY logo and their slogan, IJOY for your joy and nothing else. Side presents you with a scratch and sniff and not much else. And the back, not much else, not much. Very plain black box. The box itself has quite a nice feel to it, a little bit sort of rubberized almost, and you have a very small colour indicator. Taking a look inside the box, we have an exploded diagram. IJOY for your joy, ribbed for her pleasure. A very funky pull-out drawer there. One 510 Ego converter. The device itself, which we'll look at in a moment. And in this hidden compartment we have a garishly green awful silicone sleeve. Side panel details. Warranty card. IJOY tips and the full hardcore user manual. So, quick tour around the device. You have one 510 connector, it's just about sprung loaded, very stiff but it is brand new. You have the side panel where you could add your side panelling details. Obviously the go button, menu buttons and your screen there. At the base we have some battery venting and access to the battery. So let's chuck some batteries in and fire her up.
Okay, so that was the unboxing done. Before we get down and dirty with some button presses, let's just run through the main tech specs of this little unit.
Okay, so here we are with the tech specs of note. The device is a 200W device, runs from 1 volt to 8 volts with a range of 1 to 35 amp. Okay, in wattage mode it runs from, the resistance runs from 0.1 to 3 ohm. In temp control mode it runs from 0.1 to 1.5 ohm. And also in temp control, the temperature wise, it will run from 150 to 315 degrees C, that's 300 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, and back in the room. Right, so that's the tech specs done. Okay guys, so let's take a quick dive down and do button pushes for you.
Okay, let's have a quick run through these button pushes then. Obviously you've got a go button up here, you've got what they call the T button down the bottom, which is basically your menu button. You've got your up and down options here. Okay, currently we're in temp control, which you can tell by the fact that it's displaying the temperature there. If you want to change mode, you press and hold the T button, and that's going to flip you between power mode,
and taste control mode, where it shows you a percentage. If you want to get back into temp control, you go to wattage mode and then 3 clicks, and it'll ask you what type of coil you're using, nickel or titanium. Didn't even give me time to answer there, but nickel was the correct answer. Obviously you can adjust it accordingly. It is possible to change the orientation of the screen as well. That is done by basically ham fist whacking all these buttons until it turns over. There probably is a technical method for this, but that's the way I found that works for actually getting it to happen. So obviously basic operation, with the go button, you adjust your temperature. Temperature adjusts in 5 degrees, as you can see. Let's flip it back out into wattage mode. Now wattage mode, each press is 0.1 watt. So you're going to need to cycle through until you're vaguely close, and then you have to just find the exact wattage you want with individual presses. For taste control, pressing and holding from wattage mode, you have your default 100% power. Now once it's learnt, that is your average hit, and if you want to increase it, you press the up button and it will go up to the 110%, or if you want to decrease it, it will go down to 80%. Obviously for taste control protection, the higher percentage you have, the less protection you have from the dry hit. The lower it is, the more protection you're going to get. But we'll run through taste control later. Okay, so that's the button pushes out the way. Let's just take a moment to talk about these buttons. So the silver button, it's a really nice clicky action. I love it. It's really good, when you've pressed it. However, sometimes it doesn't register the press. Now, mine was a little bit damaged in the post, and I think there might be some build quality issues around this. But when it works absolutely brilliantly. The design of it is great. I love the button action. Really good. Same thing with the menu. The menu, this little T button, it works really well, but sometimes the presses don't register, so you're there spamming away, trying to get the menu to do what you want. When it works brilliantly. And as a design idea, it's brilliant. So yeah, buttons are pretty good, but could have been executed a little better.
Okay, next up for you is the menu operation for it. It's got a dedicated menu button, which is brilliant. Like Slack said, nice clicky. I do like the click. I fucking love that. That's brilliant. The buttons are nice and responsive. It's got the round robin on it though, which is the same as everything else, which Slack is going to tell you about now.
I fucking hate it. Why get to the top temperature and then just suddenly you're at the bottom temperature? I fucking hate that. It's stupid. Yeah, after Snowwolf, everything else is shit. It's something I've always hated since the Tesla 25 watt, which was a roundy dialy button, and kept changing. For 1 minute you're at full power, 1 minute you're at minimum power, and so since then it's just something I've always hated. Yeah, unfortunately this does that. Admittedly, where they're separate menu buttons, you're not going to be accidentally pressing them all the time, so it's not like the world's biggest sin, but it could have been better.
Yeah, Slack's fairly guarded with his feelings about that, so in case you missed it, he's not a fan. Okay, the other thing is the 510 connection on the top. It's really good feeling tight thread. I love a tight thread. The other thing is on top of the device. It's got like a standoff built into the top of the device, so your tank or your dripper will just screw straight onto the top of it, and it's a really beautiful, straight down flush, no little gaps, nothing. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's done good. So let's go through some of the features of the device. Obviously the big selling point of this was the temp control on Canthal, which has now been repurposed as taste control, which you can do with either Canthal or nickel. You just set your power. We'll go through that in a bit. But some of the other things, you've got obviously reverse battery protection in there. You've got short protection, low resistance sort of protection built into it. Yeah, so it's got a 10-second limit. So if you take too long a hit, it will cut out for you. So in case you accidentally leave it in your bag or something and it starts going off all over the place, so you don't get accused of having an IED. It's got low battery protection and reverse battery protection built into it. And also it monitors the temperature of the PCB, and if that gets too hot it will kill the power to it, which is another nice feature. All of that in this tiny unit. Like, it's so tiny. Like, I've seen unregulated box mods much bigger than this. It's freaking tiny.
Okay, so now let's talk about sort of the operation of the device and how it performs. Slack, temp control?
Yeah, so regular temp control on your standard nickel wire. It also supports titanium, but we've mainly been testing this on nickel. So when it works really well. I'm currently running at 245 degrees C. It's giving a really nice cool vape. It's really consistent sort of power delivery. It is actually really good. However, randomly, not with this current setup, it has been rock solid, but certain setups and certain times it just decides that you want to be in wattage mode instead, which is a pain in the arse. You know, certain setups don't want to go into temp control. The other thing is, to get into temp control, you have to start in wattage mode. It has to learn. It's got, the whole thing with this, the same with the taste control, it has to learn what's going on. And you can kind of force it into temp control, and then sometimes it will kick you out because it hasn't learnt enough, I think. I don't really understand. I've been rocking this for nearly a month now, and I still don't fully understand what it's going to do when I put something new on. I know I need to let it learn in wattage mode. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But it's when you then go, okay, it's been running for a while on wattage mode, let's flip it into taste control, let's flip it into temp control, and it does for 2 hits and then chucks you back to wattage mode. And it doesn't, either I missed something, maybe it says it needs to learn more, but I certainly haven't seen it say that. You're just suddenly in the wrong mode. But when it is working, it works really well. I really like it.
Okay, next up for you is taste control on the unit. One of the big selling points for the unit itself that was marketed by the company to the consumers. So, to get taste control working properly, you've got to use 28 gauge wire or thinner. So 28 gauge or up, not down. The resistance has to be
0.5 ohms
or
higher.
And they've got to be spaced coils as well for you.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to be, but it certainly works better with that. So, and that's what they recommend as well. So, yeah, let's take an up-close look at taste control.
Okay, so test of taste control. Got a really poor coil because this is now the third attempt to do this due to camera errors and technical problems. We're currently set to 30 watts. I've just put this on. I've done a bit of learning. So we're about good to go for an actual taste control test. Just put a bit more juice on. We're going to come over here, flip it into taste control mode. And what I'm going to do is just dial it back to, I don't know, 94%. So firing it off, you can see currently it's firing okay. There we go. It's basically saying we've got too hot, so it's killed the power. While this drip is flashing, you're not going to be able to fire your device. So I'm going to let go of that, let it cool down. Okay, we're good to fire again. Okay, and very quickly this time, yeah, we're out of juice. We need to sort the problem out. So as long as you're aware that you've now got a dry hit and you need to sort it out, that's not going to be a problem for you. The only problem with this is if you allow your atomizer to cool down enough, the resistance is going to be back to normal. So it's going to fire like a normal hit at first, which is really going to cook your cotton. It's okay if you do it once or twice, minus the disgusting dry hit. But if you keep doing it, you could run into some real problems. So yeah, that cotton looks dry as a bone. We still get a little bit of firing out of it, a little bit of juice. But yeah, this is relying on the resistance of the coil. By now, you should have worked out that you've got a problem you need to rejuice. Let's just give it a tiny bit more juice. I'll show you that up close. So as you can see, that's taste control for you on very badly wrapped 28 gauge Canthal. Dry hit protection. It's brilliant. It's got one of the main benefits you get from temperature control, which is the dry hit protection. Now obviously you're not going to be able to adjust the sort of temperature and amount of your vape here,
Not really. You dial up the percentage. You can kind of adjust it a bit, but it's not the same as proper temperature control. But dry head protection works really well. Okay, before we get into pros and cons that we found using the device, let's just talk about its size and portability. I mean, it's tiny. I've already said it. I'm going to keep saying it because that is one of the main selling points for me. It is just so small. I mean, you could operate a wheel if with this in your hand. No worries. You're not sort of limited to something like the C Fiber or the iJoy.
To clarify, we're not endorsing driving and vaping at the same time.
Video game wheel.
Yeah.
Everyone plays video games and vapes, so but it's that sort of size. I mean, okay, I have giant hands, but at the same time, it's a good size. It's really comfy to hold.
Regular size hands is still a good size, but
and portability. So where it's so small, that makes it really good. It's very lightweight, I suppose, for a dual 18650 as well. I mean, it's solidly built. It's not lightweight and flimsy, but you've got aluminium here that's like a nice solid aluminium, plastic battery cover, and it's good. What with it being a dual 18650 mod as well, the battery life on it is pretty good. You can just hot swap your batteries as well if you're going to be out and about on the road for a while. That makes it pretty cool. There's no USB charging, obviously, with it being a dual 18650. But that's okay for most people.
Most.
Yeah, most people. Where there's no USB, obviously you're not going to get firmware updates on this either. What you buy is what you get, and that is okay. And lastly, before pros and cons, warranty. You get a 90-day limited warranty. It's basically going to cover you for manufacturing defects and everything else. That's it. So it's not great, but it's 90 days.
It's better than nothing, which a lot of things have sold with in the past. Okay guys, that time of the show where we go through the pros and cons. We're going to start with the cons for you. Although a lot of this information has already been covered in the whole review, we thought we'd go through, bullet point it for you, pull it together.
Okay, first up on the cons list, which is kind of a con and kind of a pro. If the atomizer resistance changes, you swap out your atomizer for something, I forget which way round it is. One is 0.05 of a resistance change. It was going to ask if it's a new coil or the same coil, and the other one, if you change it, is by more than 0.15. It's going to ask you if it's like a new device or something. That's fine when you actually change the device, but I've had setups that it decides that it's just changed it. You put a new device on cold and use it a couple of hits, then it's asking you if it's a new device again. I've already said this. So when it works, that's absolutely fine, but I've had a couple of devices where it doesn't work quite right, so it's going to fall into the cons section, I reckon.
Next up, apparently Slack's not sold on the build quality of the device.
Yeah, so the one I got, I've got a picture somewhere, I'll try and hook you up. The battery cover had fallen apart. There's like the metal plate on the battery cover, and that had magnetised to the top where the 510 connector is. So when I was putting my batteries in, they kind of fit, but they weren't really fitting. I was forcing it. I was like, they're springing a bit. This just isn't right. I was looking at it. It took me a while to hang on. This has fallen apart. The battery top bit was just glued in and had come unglued in the post. So yeah, build quality there wasn't brilliant. The button clicks, again, when they work well, they're really good, but sometimes they don't. So again, this just comes down to a sort of build quality issue. But, design wise, it's good. Build quality just could have been executed a little better.
And lastly, for the cons, we think, is the temperature control mode. Although it's there, and when it works, it's solid. Sometimes it can be a bit finicky and kick you out randomly, but for the most part, it does work.
Okay, enough ragging on the device. Let's talk about some of the things it does really well.
Apparently I'm talking about that now. So, the OLED screen. The OLED screen is fucking brilliant. That is probably one of the best OLED screens I've ever seen on a device. And I'm not even lying there. That is so crisp, so sharp. the OLED screen is actually close to the surface of the device as well, so it's not like you're looking at it and looking through a porthole right into the fucking device. It is there, it is flat, it is high quality and brilliant and works really well.
Yeah, you got all your information on there, you know, sort of everything you'd want and more, really. So yeah, I agree. It's a definite pro.
I'm sorry if that sounded a bit gushy, but it's good. It is good. Next up for you, the finish of the unit. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, aside from the build quality issues which we've mentioned, the finish of the unit is lovely. Again, how they've crammed all the stuff in here is amazing, and for it to be such a sort of solid feeling unit, really nice sort of brushed aluminium, sort of like one way. It's nice.
He just told me it was aluminium earlier. I mean, I didn't. I thought it was steel or some other metal construction, because I'm usually pretty good at identifying aluminium. And knowing that, I'm a bit wary of devices that house themselves in aluminium, because you're a bit worried about dropping them and whether they'll take a knock, because aluminium is softer of all the metals, so it won't take too many knocks. But this looks like a high gauge aluminium that they've used, so yeah, although you're not going to be looking to throw it about the place, if it does take a knock, I think it will take it very well.
Okay, I mean, I've already said this so many times, but I'm going to say it again because it is a pro. It is one of the big pros of this. It is fucking tiny. Just look at that shit. I mean, look, there's nothing of it. Dual 18650, 200 watts at that size. That is awesome. Yeah, hats off to IJOY. That is brilliant.
Okay, next up on the pros is it's got a password function. Yeah, okay, it's great to have it built in, I suppose, but it's kind of like a spare wank, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm never going to use it, but you know, I think it's pretty trick that it's got one. You know.
Okay.
Okay, and next to the size, the other thing I really love, the other thing that is going to be a real big selling point for this device is the taste control. You know, this is their half-assed implementation at temp control on Kanthal. I say half-assed, you just can't do it, and they've done really well with it. So yeah, it's awesome. It gives you this sort of built-in dry hit protection. Once it's had time to learn, it just works really well. I like it. It's simple to use, and yeah, it works. Brilliant.
And lastly, for the pros, it comes in at a very reasonable price, which leads us on to the very real question of Slack. How much did you pay and where did you get it from?
So, I paid $69 US from a company called eSig.com out stateside. Okay, so that about does it for our review of the IJOY Asolo 200W. Like I said, it is a tiny little dual 18650 unit with some really cool implementation of temp control on Kanthal. You know, I love it. I'm really happy with it. Anyway, thanks for watching Smog Vlog. Do be sure to check us out on the social medias.
Yeah, we're quite chatty on social media, or we're trying to be quite chatty on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, although not so much Instagram recently. Sorry. If you've got any questions, anything else, leave us a comment down below. We're all about the likes, don't forget, because we like the likes. Mm-hmm. And that's about it from us from Smog Vlog. Thank you for watching. That's rather a nice feeling box as well.
It is, isn't it? I like feeling a good box.
That's unusually satisfying.
I know. Yeah, I guess here you go, start, because I'm probably going to do a fair amount of the talking on
You're
this.
going to take the lot, are you?
Oh, you were being pervy.
No?
You're going to take the lot. Or just the tip.
Nice. Do you want to hold it up there? You didn't say for your joy.
Because you didn't say by IJOY.
Oh. Shit. I thought you were going to take the whole lot. No. Okay, go on.
There we are again.
You do enjoy taking the whole lot. See, look at that smile. Look at that smile. That's a smile that takes it all. To get this working properly, you've got to use 28 gauge wire or higher.
Thinner
wire. Higher grade. Higher grade? Lower grade? Higher grade.
Same grade, different gauge.
gauge, that's the word I was looking for, out of this device, you've got to use 28 gauge wire or higher. Not higher?
Thinner.
Thinner.
Fucking hell.
So, to get the best working out of this device, you've got to use 28 gauge wire or thinner. They've got to be spaced coils. What was the other thing?
0.5 resistance or lower. Higher. Oh, God damn it. Lower number. Oh, no.
Flawless.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Okay, and lastly on the pros for the device is this over here.
Hi. What?
Are you laughing about 69?
No.
What are you laughing about?
Reasonable and keen, and just then I thought I was good, but it turns out I wasn't.
For fuck's sake. Nothing funny about watermelon. I thought you sounded like you were about to start laughing again.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm. For fuck's sake, I had it as well. I was fine. I wasn't even trying to laugh last time. Jesus.
No, you did really good, but I thought I heard you go like that.
Don't
like,
laugh, and
you're
then you're like, building up.
like a volcano.
Money shot.